Well, good evening and welcome everybody to our candidate debate for the upcoming Clearwater City Council election. My name is Al Rochelle, retired Bay News 9 news anchor, and I'll be serving as the debate moderator for about the next 90 minutes. We have a total of 5 candidates for council seats, numbers 4 and 5, coming up in the August 18th election. Seat 4, we have Bianca Latvala and Jared Leone. That winner is the one who gets the most votes. Pretty simple on that one. For seat number 5, we have Mark Bunker, Kevin Laughlin, and Sam Wilson. If no candidate receives 50% of the vote, the 2 candidates with the highest vote totals will face each other in a runoff election. Candidates, thank you so much for taking your time to be with us today. We know that you've been to a lot of forums, so hopefully this one will go as smooth as the others have gone. Have they gone smoothly? Yeah. Okay, yes, good, for the most part. So here is the format for tonight. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer each question. We have a timekeeper who will first give a notice, the little yellow light right at the top here, when you have 15 seconds left to answer the question. Then the red light will start flashing, and that either means that your cake is done, your coffee cup is ready, or you run out of time. I might let you go over a few seconds to complete your sentence, but don't test me. I'll be polite, and things will go smoothly. We will rotate which candidate gets to answer the question first, and then we go right down the line with the next candidate answering the same question, and so on. I'll let you know who gets to answer each question first, but pretty much it's you answer down the line, you answer down the line, and flip around. Pretty elementary. We're going to try to get to as many questions as possible in the short time we have together. You will also be given the opportunity to make a 1-minute closing statement at the end, really selling us and why you want this position. Now, I put together these questions with some input from the city and also looking at the digital media and some of the other ways that people communicate. And your friend and mine, AI. I asked ChatGTP and I had all the right answers. That was the good thing, right? But really, most of these questions are topics as commissioners, council members, you will be dealing with if you are elected, or at least you have an opinion about subject matter, even if it may be decided before you're actually sworn in. An audience tonight, thank you so much. You're going to be on your best behavior, no outbursts, no snickering, no rotten tomatoes. When this is over, we can thank all the candidates with our applause, but until then, as the old song recorded by the Four Seasons goes, silence is golden. I think the Bee Gees also did that too. Candidates, by the way, I'm going to use your first name because you all have different first names and it makes it easier and a little less formal. So let's start right away. First question, why are you seeking this office and why are you the best person for this job? Bianca, go.
I believe in service above self, and that is the level of commitment that I want to bring to the city, and I think that the citizens of the city deserve. I am a very practical decision maker, and I am often the voice of reason. I don't have to be the loudest in the room, and because of that, I'm often the one who's able to find a way forward, and I think that that's the most valuable skill I can bring to the city right now.
All right. Yeah, you don't have to go a minute if you don't want to. That's good. But you others, you can't take away their time. It's not like in Congress where, this is my time, stop talking, this is my time. All right, Jared.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Al. I appreciate the question. Thanks, Allie, and everyone for coming out tonight. I'm uniquely experienced given my professional background and my community leadership background. I professionally spent 20 years working as a journalist covering the issues and institutions of our community, the Tampa Bay area, and the state for publications like the Tampa Bay Times, Associated Press, Reuters, and the Washington Post. That experience taught me how to evaluate complex issues and understand the long-term impacts of public policy decisions. My leadership includes serving as vice president at Keep Pinellas Beautiful and leading our city's environmental advisory board for nearly a decade. And during that time, I listened to residents and advocated for policies and initiatives and projects that have led to more than $6 million in savings for taxpayers. I'm ready to get to work on day one, and that's what this experience that I've had in our community has given me, is the ability to understand our issues and be able to get started and work on day one in August 18th. Thank you.
All right, Jared, thank you. Mr. Bunker, you've been here before. Mark, go ahead.
I had the honor of serving on the Clearwater City Council from 2020 to 24, and it was truly a great experience. I've done the job. I have the experience. I ran before largely on Scientology. I'm one of the few people willing to stand up and fight back against Scientology. Not Scientologists, they're good people. But the organization sometimes throws its weight around. And we're at a point right now where I'm very concerned that the entire council may be controlled by Scientology, which is why I felt I had to run. They changed the way we vote here because I won before, so now we have runoffs. I decided one more time I'll give this a shot and hope that I can fight for the people.
All right, Mark, thank you so much. Kevin?
My name is Kevin R.T. Laughlin. Al, I'll only correct you once. It's a way to be on the ballot. It's what I've used in 45 years in the theater, 45 years in business. It's a family tradition. All my family members have two middle names, and I'd appreciate it. So I had to have former Councilman Johnson is here, and when we did the CNC, he was good enough to run off and change my nameplate to include my initials. I am the middle child, but the third of Irish triplets, which means I grew up on the bottom of the pile, and I've been fighting my way out of that ever since. I'm tough. I'm the chairman of the Marine Advisory Board. I'm in my 10th year. My good friend Mike and I asked for a third term because we will not quit until that beach marina is done and the $48 million project is not only done, but with some of our pushing to the parking department, there's going to be a $39 million parking garage right outside of it. So 2 solutions.
All right, thank you so much. But I can still just call you Kevin, is that right? Do you have to?
From here on out, you can call me Kevin, yes. but
Okay,
the
Kevin,
introduction.
yes. It'll be Kevin, yes, from now on.
Thank you.
All right, Sam, go ahead.
Well, how's it going? My name is Sam Wilson, and I'm running to bring a fresh perspective to City Council, running to represent a future generation of homeowners and folks that are going to be raising families here in our great city. And my beautiful wife is sitting right there, and I'll give her a shout out because we're searching for a home right now. We're searching to find a place to plant our roots in this city, and we are very much looking forward to starting a family very soon. And so this matters to me because the future of our city relies to us. It's in our hands on what we want the city to be. And we can focus on the future and focus on the things that matter, like activating our downtown and creating a place that everyone can enjoy. And so I'm running to give hope to the future generations that Clearwater's best days are ahead. And we can make it to be whatever we want it to be.
All right, Sam, thank you so much. All right, question number 2. One of the most talked about issues is whether Clearwater will drop Duke Energy as its electric utility provider. Proviso, there's supposed to be a vote that may be taken even before you're in council, but I wanted your opinion on this anyway. Some consultants have told the city they could save up to 20% on energy bills by doing so, numbers that are vigorously disputed by Duke Energy. Do you think it's a smart idea, and can the city afford the initial price tag, which could run as high as $750 million, according to Duke, or as high as $650 million, according to some city consultants? Jared, you have the first answer on this one.
Thanks, Al. Thanks for the question. I feel, and this was brought up earlier before the forum, and I'm going to make sure I answer very similarly to it as I did earlier. Affordability is the driving factor in this conversation, and so that's what we need to be looking at. Residents don't care where our power comes from, just to make sure that it's reliable and cheap, and they can, and the light comes on, and that it's there. I think what we need to do as Pinellas County, St. Petersburg, Largo, other regional partners are leaving their contract with Duke. We need to look at this and negotiate this as regional and not look at it as just the city trying to take this on as itself, but look at this as a regional opportunity for our area to provide cheaper power for everyone. Thank you.
Okay, Mark.
Nobody likes Duke. I understand that. And leaving Duke would be a good thing if we can afford it. And I believe Duke's estimate was $1 billion to purchase their properties.
Yes.
And then you've got all the lawsuits that will follow. So whatever decision we make, the lawyers are going to be making out like bandits. But it would be good for the city if we had our own utility. And I would support that if it made sense. If the break-even point was 3 to 5 years before people started seeing some of those savings, well, that's great. But if it's 10 or 20 years, we have to have some real thoughtful discussions about that. I'm for it if it makes sense.
Okay. Kevin.
Just got the Sierra Club endorsement this afternoon. I don't know if they're going to like where I come from on this, but I've looked into it deeply. I met with a electrical engineer from a different power company who literally, when a hurricane comes in, he's the guy they send to redesign the system. We can't redesign our system. We will be stuck with Duke's technology. If you say TECO or anyone else, it's different technology. You can't just say we'll use what they're using. We'll still have to go to the state to get wage adjustments, to get rate adjustments. By the time we get it set up, we could face a rate adjustment. Clearwater also has very irregular borders. That's going to make it tougher. Top of the world is going to have to join us. We cannot encircle them and have our own power. So there's a lot of tough decisions to make. I've looked into it deeply. If their estimations are correct, it can be done. If they are not, it will not. And people say there's other MEUs. Well, the other MEUs are homegrown. They started out that way. No one's ever walked away from Duke.
Okay. Sam?
Well, first and foremost, I'm a limited government, fiscally responsible person. I don't believe in taking on burdens that we cannot handle. And with the price tag that what we are seeing from the city taking it on could be too much for us to handle, especially when we're coming up towards the end of the year where there's questions with property taxes being abolished to some degree. I think it would be a heavy burden that the city has to take on. So I'm not 100% against it, but I do think that we need leaders who are going to be willing to be fiscally responsible and have that limited government bone in their body to say this might not be a good deal. I think the power is in our hands to negotiate with Duke Energy to create a good deal that's going to lower rates, because at the end of the day, the costs are driving through the roof. Residents are feeling it everywhere. Affordability is the #1 issue that we are seeing. So we just need to be very courteous of the taxpayer dollars and make sure whatever deal is made, it's in the best interest of the residents.
Okay. Bianca?
I don't think that we should be taking on an area of expertise that we do not have. I think that we should be putting all of that energy and effort and money into negotiating with Duke. Duke has made it very clear they do not want to give us the infrastructure for this. They don't want to sell it to us, which would require a lot of legal fees. There's only one scenario where I think that we should take this into consideration. If property taxes are eliminated this fall, we would have to be open to anything that would generate income. If it's not a solid confirmation that we are going to be making money and soon, I don't think that we should be doing it unless we're trying to make up gaps in the budget.
All right, let's move on to another question, kind of in the same vein. So apart from the Duke Energy conversation, is there anything the city can do to lower utility costs for its citizens, apart from separating from Duke? And if there is, why didn't they do it sooner? Mark, you're first.
Well, we did make a deal with Synergistic when I was on the council. This is a company that we hired to essentially turn down the temperature in the buildings at night, and we saved actually a lot of money with that. It seemed like quite a hurdle to do, but I think there was hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars that was saved through that. I'm willing to look at solar energy again, and alternative things of that nature. And any type of deal we could make with Duke, if we're with them, we should be working on that.
Okay, Kevin.
I think electric. I think solar power. I think, I know that we just recently even surpassed St. Petersburg in the amount of solar power that we generate in our, starting with the sound in the new city hall. I think there's a lot more ways we can go. We could go to the school board and get them to get off their horse and let us, they will not let us put solar panels on top of schools. There's no reason that it shouldn't be done. The savings, as Mark said, there's savings that you can't even imagine. We've seen it at the Sound. We've seen it. We'll see it at the City Hall. But we could do 10 times more. We've turned a lot of the fleet over to the most modern things. My friend Chief Holloway showed off the new car that he said, at times it runs on 2 cylinders. He stopped in the street. He was my neighbor at one time before my friend Rick Kreisman stole him away from us. I still have not forgiven him, but we have a good chief now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Got to wrap. You're very good at using every second you've got, Kevin, I'll say that. Sam, same question to you.
Can you repeat it real quick? I'm sorry.
Question is, so apart from Duke Energy conversations, is there anything the city can do to lower utility costs for its citizens?
Well, first and foremost, I want to make my position very clear on this. I do not support AI data centers in our city or in our county. I think that would be a terrible waste, and it would actually drive up costs, as we're already seeing an energy crisis. Just affordability in general is affecting everybody. I will continuously run on that because energy costs have gone up through the roof. So again, going back to Duke, we can work a deal out with Duke. I like the exploration of solar. I've also liked the idea, it's been floated around, there's also talks of nuclear reactors that you can have, the small ones. That's the future, I believe, as well, just in terms of having people control their own energy. But also, too, I think a lot of folks have seen that there's a lot of solar parking lots, actually, where the solar panels are not in people's homes. They're actually overhead. You park under them when you're in parking lots. So I like that idea as well. But ultimately, we just have to be more disciplined with any deal we're making with Duke, and just lowering energy costs as a whole is something we have to prioritize as a city council.
Okay, Bianca.
Right now, life is very expensive, and I believe that as council members, we have to be cognizant of trying to keep the city as affordable as possible so that we have families who continue to move here, and that those residents, especially seniors who already live here, have the money to continue to do so. So I'm open to any alternative ideas. I have a nonprofit client who recently added solar panels to their building, and it was a game changer for their budget. And I think that when we especially have opportunities for grants to try and fund that, I think that we should be exploring those opportunities.
Okay, Jared.
Thanks, Al, for the question. So what can the city do to lower utility bills for our residents? I think there's a few things. One, I talked to a few people tonight that didn't realize Clearwater is one of the most expensive cities in the Tampa Bay area to live. And part of why our community is so expensive to live in are our fees. And one thing that we can do is, as we're negotiating with Duke and looking for better price points and better bills for our residents, we can ensure that the fees on our electric bills are less. So we have Clearwater residents who live next door to unincorporated Clearwater residents, and if you live in Clearwater, your utility bill is going to be higher than your neighbor, and that's because of the franchise fees and other fees that are tacked on to City of Clearwater residents' bills. So that's one way we can reduce those fees. And another one is, again, looking at and funding, the city has supported an organization called Solar United Neighbors, which helps provide cheaper solar panels, co-op pricing for homeowners. And I think as a city, we support that organization. We can continue to help support and proliferate the information that they have so that homeowners can get better buying power for their solar at their home. Thank you.
Okay. This next one is about government accountability and transparency. That's a hot topic these days. Even in Clearwater, there have been some grumbling from citizens saying the city doesn't do enough listening or getting citizen feedback before taking action. What would you do to change that impression? And I always like to say that impression is reality when it comes to the world of politics. Kevin, you go first.
One of the reasons I got into this because of words like that, accountability, transparency, placating the public with platitudes. Do we have a problem? Yes. You saw it, how quickly the Garden Avenue thing went through. You're going to see it, how quickly that the Landings project goes through. People keep asking me about it. I've been involved in it. I've stood in the parking lot and talked to golfers and neighbors and the recent meeting there. And I feel hopeless because I know that they're going to push it through and solve it before it ever gets to an election. If we were up there, I think it's something we could stop. When the mayor says he can't even vote on it because he's involved in it, then how is that? Gee, an unsolicited bid that came from the mayor. There's your transparency for you. Everybody sees right through it.
Okay, Sam.
Well, transparency has been a focal point of certainly my campaign because a lot of folks just feel uninformed. The more I door knock, the more folks that I find have no idea what's going on. I bring up Duke Energy, and it's a foreign subject to them. but because I think our council members and just all of us in general have to do a better job at advocating to the residents on what is going on and why they need to be involved. Everything is local. Everything starts local and it goes up. So if we're, being able to talk to residents and inform them, and we just saw this with a special work session for Garden Avenue. I thought that was great what Councilmember Menino put on, because it allowed residents, all residents, to come into this chamber and hash it out and talk and get questions answered. And I think that's important moving forward, is to continue to advocate to the residents that, hey, you need to be informed, and we will give you a platform to come ask questions and be transparent with them.
Okay, Bianca?
The way that I will conduct myself is in a transparent fashion. And I'm always open to meeting with anyone. I love having a productive conversation. So I will conduct myself with the most transparency I can provide. I do think that we've seen recently where when you aren't operating in the sunshine and you aren't properly informing the community about why it is that you're making decisions, I think we've seen recently how that can change the outcome of something. And I think that public records requests are being weaponized right now, but that shouldn't be something to be fearful of, because there should not be conversations that aren't transparent about the work that we're doing.
Okay, Jared?
Thanks, Al. Transparency and accountability are paramount. As a journalist, I've helped make things available to the public so that they are informed about what is going on at City Hall. Since running this campaign, I've heard from residents and business owners throughout Clearwater that what they want is a government that's accessible, transparent, and listens to them. That's why I'm running, is to make sure that everyone has a seat at the table. I think that residents too long feel that their public comment is just a box to check rather than part of the decision-making process. And so that's, again, part of why I'm running, is to make sure that we are represented, everyone at the table. So,
Okay,
thank
Mark?
I spent 10 years in TV news as well, and I always cared about stories about people and helping people. That's what I've been doing with Scientology for 30 years. I've been helping people who've been abused by it. I think we need to listen and pay attention and help everyone we can. On this current council, we've seen some really nasty comments that have turned communities off, especially around the Garden Avenue situation, where somebody snapped at folks from North Greenwood. They were not happy about it at all. So we have to be careful, and being open, listening, talking, and doing are very important things for all of us to do.
Okay, I'm gonna a little privilege here, because I heard some conversations earlier today where I get most of my political news at 7-Eleven. And it relates to this government accountability and transparency. And we're going to go in the same order, because I've got all the rest of the program. So this is me, my bad. Are you in favor of an ordinance that would require a referendum on every single sale or use of any city property? Because this is something that I was told why accountability and transparency is being questioned, which is they think this is the answer to that. So I'm going to start with Kevin. The ordinance, in other words, are you in favor of an ordinance that would require a referendum, the public to vote on every sale of every piece of city property or city property use before any action could be taken?
When we had the Clearwater Neighborhood Coalition, they asked the question of whether we felt that the city should retain an ombudsman to stand up for the people when they disagreed with what the city was doing. And I took a poll. How many people think that the people need a lawyer to stand up to some of the things that happens in the city? One hand, thank you.
He's a lawyer. Kidding.
I don't know why they're afraid of letting the citizens decide. The trouble that Save the Garden went to 8,000 signatures, and I put no fault that some of them were rejected, because it's the city council that could have bypassed that. They could have said, let's just take it to referendum. You don't need the petitions. okay? But the same thing's going to happen with the landings. There's no way they're going to get the petitions to do it. So I think that there should be a rule that these kind of things go to the voters, to the citizens.
Okay, Sam?
So with that certain issue, I know, thousands of residents came and signed that petition, and ultimately that fell flat because I trusted what the city clerk did. She did the right thing in doing her due diligence and going through each petition and making sure that, the resident was verified, lived in the city, and however, but I would not support that. Because I have talked to business leaders, I have talked to a variety of developers who are actively doing business in downtown Clearwater, and it would only hinder further business development. And it's already a risk enough for developers to take a chance on Clearwater. Like you take the D'Annunzio Group, for example, right there. They spent $250,000 on an ad campaign to get that referendum passed in 2022. It would not happen for further developers to have to go through that kind of burden of a referendum for every single time they're trying to do business in Clearwater. We are open for business. We are not closed.
Bianca?
I believe that we should have a council who is listening to the people that they work for, and that's the citizens of Clearwater. And recently, we've had examples where council has willfully ignored a very large voice in the community, and I think that we should be open to referendums. I also am concerned, though, about setting precedent that does hinder future growth. And so I think that it would take really thoughtful conversation before we we narrowed ourselves so much to say that everything should have a referendum. But I do think that my responsibility is to hear what everyone has to say and to make the best decision that works for everyone.
Okay. Jared?
Thanks, Al. So I just want to make sure, the question is, would we support a referendum on every sale of city property in downtown?
Or use of city property
Or use of
downtown.
city property in
Yes.
downtown?
No, just property.
Just property, right? Just
Right.
Property
Yes,
within the
property.
city.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Excuse me.
No, I would not support that. I think that, again, would effectively chill development downtown. We're seeing a lot of activation, or the start of activation in our downtown. And if you're asking potential developers that they're going to have to face a referendum after purchasing or possibly purchasing a property in our city, we're not going to have any development. We're not going to have the economic development that, again, if we're looking at possibly not having property tax, we need as much development. We need that growth to help make up that stopgap, that lack of property
Mark?
tax. So, thank you.
Last word?
Now, the Save the Garden people, they were only asking for a referendum on a street being given away.
Right.
A public street. That, I think, should go to the people to decide. And I was sorry that that campaign was kind of chucked out the window. They're fighting it now. As far as every single piece of property, yeah, that's going to be impossible. But, the use of a city street, that should be for the public. I got attacked for having vacated a street to Scientology back in 2021. I went and looked at that, and it was a small section of a part of a road that Scientology already had that nobody drove on. I'm not opposed to helping Scientology move forward, but this is something that the people should decide.
Okay, all right. Now let's move on to, since we've been skirting all around Scientology, another hot topic is the presence of Scientology in the downtown area and its influence, especially with the Cleveland Street Redevelopment Project and the Cleveland Street Alliance, prominently featured on Scientology TV Channel 5 about every 3 or 4 hours for the last, whatever. What's the city's role in this, and is that a healthy relationship? And can you develop that area without the help of business leaders, some who may or may not be Scientologists but have a vested financial interest in that development? Sam, you get the hot one right away.
Well, I think we should work towards a growing coalition of business leaders throughout our entire city to activate our downtown. People for the longest time have complained that downtown is not activated. We're working towards that right now. You go take a walk outside, go down the street, buildings are being demolished, there's cranes right next door to us. I have never seen that living here my whole life. I have never seen cranes downtown Clearwater. And I think that downtown is being transformed. We have to give it a chance. We need activation more than anything else. We have to be willing to work with all partners in our city and focus on business development, which brings in jobs, which brings in growth to our city, and economic revival can happen in Clearwater if we all work towards that. And I'm believing that if we can put aside our differences and be unified as a city and work towards activation, we can get all that done.
All right. Bianca?
I don't think that it is a healthy relationship, and I think that that's something we should change. I'd like to actively work towards changing that. And we have asked to have them activate those properties, and they have done that. And it is not fair as a government for us to say, well, we've asked you to do it, you did it, and you're not doing it how we wanted to. So we have to remain open, but that comes back to the relationship. It should be a two-way communication stream. And I think that non-elected officials should not be city planning and should not be changing the landscape of what an entire city looks like. But that comes back again to communication and a good relationship. And I'd like to see tensions in our city reduced, but I think it should be fair for all citizens.
Okay, Jared?
Thanks, Al. Yeah, I think downtown Clearwater and really the city as a whole is at a pivotal moment right now. The city itself has taken on hundreds of millions of dollars in investment between Imagine Clearwater, Coachman Park, our new city hall, the upcoming availability of 17 properties. It really gives us a once-in-a-generation opportunity for the future of our downtown and for our city. We need to work collaboratively. We need to work together with everyone, residents, businesses, our property owners, our developers, nonprofits, community groups. We need to create an active, walkable, vibrant downtown that serves everyone in our community. Our strong neighborhoods and strong business community are not competing interests. They depend on one another, and we need them working together. We need a downtown that supports our local businesses, attracts investment, and is there for our residents and our visitors. And this will help generate economic activity that we need, again, if we're not going to have our property tax or other things. So we need to work together to make our future. Thank
Okay.
you.
Mark?
So in my 4 years on the council, I had one mantra, that whatever deal we make with Scientology, David Miscavige has to come through first before we give him any reward, because he stabbed us in the back way too many times. Now, he seems to be going first. And I say we should appreciate the fact that a theater is coming down here. If he comes through with that, that would be a huge thing for the downtown. We have developers, Scientology developers like Mr. Agami here in the front row. I've supported him. He allows businesses to exist in his buildings, and like Clear Sky Restaurant. So I'm not opposed to Scientologists opening buildings. They seem to be moving ahead without really talking to the city, though. I mean, Mike Menino said, we have to have a meeting here because we don't know what's going on. So that communication has to happen, and I think Miscavige is moving forward pretty quickly without bringing us along.
Okay. Kevin?
If you saw that meeting and saw 5 council members or 4 council members and a mayor sitting up here just squirming in their seats because that's what they wanted to know. Yes, you're restoring them. Yes, that's a pretty amazing the way you matched that brick and that grout, and look what they did to the clock. And that was not what anyone was here to hear. They were here to hear what business is going in there. Why they couldn't reveal, we cannot reveal that. They exposed, they talked about the movie theater. And if they had told me there would be bowling, I would have been all for it. But I want to see things open. I want, if we can only cite Clear Sky as an active tax-paying business, after all these years, I think we need to see more. I would love to see us all work together on it when these things start actually opening and are restored.
All right. Listen, I don't know how many of these that I've done. I mean, for years and years and years. So let's just get it right out in the open. If I were David Miscavige, I'm a little taller. Nothing, no cut on him. He's a lot stronger than me. If he were sitting there right now as a council member and a future council member, what advice would you give him so that people that live up in Countryside say, and I quote, because again, 7-Eleven heard this when they heard I was doing the debate, we love the sound. We love Capitol Theater. I've been to many of their shows, but it still feels a little creepy. So how do you break that? And you said they're moving forward. So come on, council, give me some ideas about how you think that could be broken. Scientology is here to stay. It's not going away. Let's just move on. So Bianca, start out. If he were here right now, what would you tell him?
I think that it's important that we do have open communication with them. And recently, we had a very heated topic with regards to something they wanted. And I was very disappointed to see that both sides did not take advantage of that opportunity to show that compromise was possible, because all it did was create more tension. I believe it should have been postponed, and there should have been active participation on both sides to show that both want to be good community partners. I think that a willingness to compromise or accept no, or say accepting no but in the future, would go a long way in showing that you are a valuable community partner. We asked the Phillies to wait when they needed funding for their stadium, and they are a good community partner, and they said, we will wait. And that's all I'm asking, is for a good community partner.
Okay, Jared?
I would just say that we need our downtown activated. I think everyone here in this room agrees and deserves an activated downtown that's vibrant and energetic. That's what the city's worked for. I think there's a lot of work happening now in a number of different aspects of our downtown to activate it. I've heard the same things, whether it's at 7-Eleven or the convenience store around the corner from my house, that's what people want. They want an activated downtown, and they want a place where they can go that's vibrant, and that there's things for them. And so that's what I would say, is to ensure that we have that.
Mark?
First, Miscavige would never talk to me.
Oh, okay.
He's a frightened little bunny. He refuses to be in a room with me. When I was on the council, we had Miscavige say, I want to bring in all the council members individually to show the pitch for what we have for downtown, except Bunker. Bunker is not invited. And I couldn't even go to the Good Life little storefront they have to promote the downtown. I got kicked out of there. I thought, this is not a Scientology building. But it was Mr. Agami's property, and the Scientologists who were manning the place immediately booted me out. So it's going to be a little hard for me to talk, but I would say he has to make sure that this is going to be Clearwater's downtown, not David Miscavige's downtown.
Okay, Kevin?
I'll speak to you, since apparently you represent the church a little bit here. Talk to us. Tell us where you're going. Go back to that meeting, and please, everybody, go back and watch that. And watch the frustration you saw of this day, is that no one would answer their question of where they were going with it. You can restore all the buildings you want, but unless we have businesses that are paying taxes, that are collecting sales taxes, that are drawing people to our downtown, it's going to mean nothing to us. We'll have a pretty downtown that is barren of any kind of commerce, any kind of traffic, they'll stay out at the beach where they all want to go. It's not going to work unless we know what the future holds. Tell us, because we can develop other properties and put in mutually exclusive, mutually helpful businesses into those that'll complement what you're doing, but we have no idea what they're doing. It's just a matter of communication.
Sam?
Well, this is where transparency and committing business in the sunshine matters. So I would invite him to come here and share in front of the council what his plans are for activation, because we all want activation. So I think inviting members of the community, inviting David Miscavige to come before us and present what they have planned in terms of activating downtown Clearwater, I think we can take a good step of faith and build a relationship of some kind that's focused on delivering for the residents. It's not about us. It's about the residents as a whole throughout the entire city, to give them a downtown to be proud of. That's what we have to work towards, and we have to be willing to work together to some capacity.
What we really need is a Michelin star restaurant downtown Clearwater. Do I have an amen to that? Michelin restaurant? Yeah, okay. All right, now we picked on Scientology enough. It's an important issue, but let's move on to some other things that are pressing. The other huge issue facing Clearwater and virtually every other municipality in Florida is the tax referendum initiative that will appear on the November ballot. If approved by at least 60% of the voters, the amendment would make changes to Florida's property tax system beginning January 1 of 2027, including changes to homestead exemptions. And just for the kicks of it, by a show of hands, how many of you have homestead exemptions? Oh, Lord, okay. And other property tax provisions, costing the city, according to the Pinellas County Property Appraiser's Office, up to $16 million in the first year alone. If that happens, what do you propose to do about it? Jared, start with you.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate you starting with me on
Yeah.
this one.
There we go.
I noticed I was the only one up here who raised their hand when you asked if we pay
Oh,
property
yeah, right.
taxes too. So I'll say personally, I do understand why property tax reform is very appealing to residents, not just in our community, but throughout the state. Families are facing rising costs. We need to pay the bills. The government should always be looking for ways to increase efficiencies and save our taxpayers money. My concern is that the proposal that voters are going to face in November could significantly reduce the revenue that our city relies on to provide essential services and additional quality of life amenities that we've grown to. The reason why we come here to Clearwater and buy a home, our parks and our rec centers. So public safety, roads, parks, stormwater infrastructure, libraries, neighborhood services, these are all things that depend on a stable local funding source. And so without something else to come in for that,
That's all right.
all right, thank you.
Yeah, okay.
No, we're
Mark,
good.
same question for you. Now, we may come back and have a little bit more of a conversation about this,
Certainly.
if you don't mind. Mark, go ahead.
Tallahassee, I think, is being very irresponsible. They're doing a little theatrical thing here that's going to devastate communities all across the state. That money is what, the city operates on. It pays for police and fire and infrastructure. And to have that source of income disappear, it's going to change our entire form of life here. I mean, so there's a lot of work that we would need to do, going through the budget line by line, making sure that we cut the things responsibly. We have to protect police, fire, emergency vehicles, stormwater drainage, and streets, and put off maybe some of the projects we'd like to do.
Okay. Kevin?
How many of you people that are homesteaded appreciate the Save Our Homes? Okay, that caps your property value at 3% every year. And how would you feel when that goes away? Because that'll go away with this new thing. I think this is nothing but a ploy by a governor who wants to run for president and say, look what I did, I'm going to cut the whole United States taxes. Follow the writings of Jeff Brandes, yes, a Republican senator, former Republican senator, who's written extensively on this, of the catastrophe. It's going to be not just for Pinellas and Clearwater, counties all around. Palm Beach County, every mill of tax they get $245 million. Okay, Okeechobee County, they get $9 million. Okay, those counties are going to be ruined. Our police, our fire, Dunedin's had 3 meetings on this. I haven't heard anything from the people that sit up here in Clearwater, and we really need to talk about this.
Okay. Sam?
Well, I think we have to be fiscally responsible throughout this. And I think it's great that it's a referendum because it allows the people to vote on it. And if, obviously it hasn't happened yet, but it's probably trending that it might end up passing. And I think that we're going to need leaders on the council who understand what fiscal discipline looks like. So we have to go line by line through the budget, making sure that we are funding our essential services, our police, our fire, all city services to keep our city running, and that works for residents. Ultimately, we want to preserve our quality of living in Clearwater. We have to mix the livability with destination. And if this is going to be a huge burden on residents, we have to make sure we have leaders who are understanding how to read a budget, go through line by line, and make cuts where appropriate. I'm sure there is waste somewhere in there, but I'm focused more on taking a fiscal, responsible approach to it.
Boy, we could spend a lot of time on this.
Can we go around again?
You know, I think we will, because here's what I want to ask about it. Okay, so we sit here, and by the way,
Hey, Al.
Peter Schorsch, who is a...
Can I
Oh,
contribute?
did I not touch you? I'm sorry, Bianca. I crossed you off prematurely. So,
That's okay.
speak.
I am very nervous that this will pass because what I think is that locally we know where we have the opportunity to cut and to save money. And I think that it should be in our hands. It should be in the hands of local government to be making these decisions. We should also, as council members, be very aware of the cost of living right now and making sure that we are respecting that people need more affordability from their city. So making thoughtful and responsible decisions. I also think to do that, we should be open to things like public-private partnerships to share some of the cost burden in things like Parks and Rec. I believe that there are solutions, but I think that locally where we know our budget best, we should be handling that. Because personally, I've always felt safe in Clearwater, and that's a luxury we pay for, and I don't want to see that compromised.
Right. So we're going to go around again on this. So I'm going to ask you this, and this doesn't have to be a long answer. Where's the disconnect? I have not heard any municipalities where, and I do a bunch of these, whether it's Largo, Dunedin, up in Gainesville, I did one up recently. None of those people said their lawmakers ever came to them and said, hey, do you think this is a good idea for your county? So my question is, and Jared, I'll start with you, where is the disconnect between what city councils and city commissions want and what the lawmakers are doing in Tallahassee?
Thanks, Al, for the question, and thanks for bringing this up. I think this is something that, as people involved in our community for a long time, recognize that Tallahassee is disconnected from our communities. One thing that has come up time and time again is home rule and the ability for us as a community to make decisions that impact and matter to us being stripped away by legislators in Tallahassee telling us what is best for us. So as far as with property tax, we don't need to be beholden to Tallahassee for our tax money to be able to fund our essential services. We need to make sure that we're independent of Tallahassee exactly for this reason, that they're I hate to say it, but clueless about what some of the issues are in our community, and so we need to make sure that we have leadership that ensures funding for, like I said, our essential services.
Mark?
You were right that this is a governor who wants to look good. Hey, I'm cutting taxes so he can run for president. And that's irresponsible. But there's a lot of irresponsible stuff on the state level that really is shameful. We got some incompetent people running various departments there, and they're not thinking of the cities when they make a decision like that. To just say, okay, you're going to be out of money, you'll figure it out, without having any support system at all? That's insane.
Kevin, go ahead.
We do agree on one thing. Jared used the right word, home rule. Home rule means that we have a city council and we make decisions what's going to affect us. When those taxes aren't coming in, we're going to be going to Tallahassee to ask them for the money for our police, for our fire. The two candidates for city council in Largo are saying, here's how you solve it. You just give the police department to the county. I'm sure your backer, the sheriff, would like that. I was in Dunedin when they took over there and some of the catastrophes that happened while they adjusted. Home rule means we're going to make our decisions. Go and watch some of the Dunedin things. They've had 2 intense panels on it, and just the other day, Mayor Moe put out her own statement explaining the difficulties that we are going to face. If something like this passes, we will not rule ourselves anymore.
Sam?
Well, like I said, I think it's a thing a lot of residents are very concerned about because affordability is still the #1 issue. And I'll continue to say it's going to be the #1 issue. And so I think, our legislatures, ultimately, it comes from the governor's office. It comes from trying to save seniors on fixed incomes. Their property taxes have to reduce because ultimately the government's taking too much of our property taxes. And so I understood the intentions behind it. And ultimately, we don't know until it passes, until the end of the year. But I think when it does, and it probably will, we have to be a united council of going through that budget and just being disciplined. There is going to have to be cuts. If there are cuts made, we have to make sure that our city is still taken care of if that has to be done. We can only deal with the cards that have been dealt to us. And so we have to move forward and find a way to just be responsible as a city and move forward with it. That does not affect the taxpayers and take the burden off of them.
All right, Bianca, this time I didn't forget you.
I think that we should have begun with a directive from Tallahassee for each city to be charged with trying to find ways to make sure that their budget is not, full of fat, that we are running a lean budget but still meeting the needs of the people without that being questioned. We enjoy a wonderful quality of life here, and our quality of life and the amenities we have here come at a cost, and I think that those are important also because if we aren't able to keep up our quality of life here, our economic stream through tourism is going to be hurt, and we can't afford to lose tourism. And so I really wish that this had begun with charging individual cities who know their budgets and know their people and their needs best. I wish it had begun with asking us to report back and say, this is the percentage we were able to cut, this is what we did to try and comply with what you've asked for before it got to this point.
Okay. Different question. What is the city doing to take care of the residents who don't live downtown and those who are affected by flooding with the twin hurricanes of Helene and Milton? And what would you do about those residents? Mark, for you. Some people are still suffering, you know that, right?
Yeah. We have to worry about the infrastructure year-round, getting the stormwater drainage done. We need some reservoirs to put all of that in. We need to keep, throughout the year, clearing away all the brush that's, clogging up everything. And we should look at ways that we can help our citizens go through the process. If there is a terrible hurricane, help them go through that entire process of getting the assistance they need, moving them from one department to another to get the federal aid that would be available.
Kevin?
My one opponent at the last forum took credit for his boss delivering a $1.7 million check for flood mitigation on North Clearwater Beach. I was copied on an email apparently that was sent to his campaign that I was told today he still hasn't answered of where that 1.7 came from, whether it was the big beautiful bill that I don't think there was much of that in there, or whether it was Build Back Better that his boss voted against. The estimated cost of flood mitigation on North Clearwater Beach has risen to almost $120 million, so thank you for that drop in the bucket. I had at my kickoff party just off Sunset Point Road, there was a deluge. There was over 8 inches of water in the road between Keene, between Keene and Highland Avenue. Traffic was almost at a standstill. You couldn't drive through it. We've got problems all around, not just on North Clearwater Beach, and we just have to keep at it. We're a low-lying area. We're a beachfront community. It's going to be there.
All right. Sam?
Well, as we know, we have sunny day flooding that affects many of our neighborhoods throughout the entire city. So I think those core infrastructure improvements are going to be vital for us to invest in going forward as a council. And I bring up a great point because, obviously in my professional job, through the work of my boss, we did deliver $1.75 million in infrastructure, and we've done that for many other communities. But it's about the partnerships and collaborating with your state, local, and federal partners to get those dollars into the city. And I have the connections and the experience to advocate for that on the city council, to work with our federal partners to get millions of dollars in that can help North Beach, that can help Countryside, Morningside, all throughout our entire city. Because infrastructure is what's going to keep us vitalized throughout the rest of the hurricane season. And when hurricane season does come, we have to make sure we're prepared. So we have to make sure we're making investments that aren't just for the short term, that are for the long term, that can help us decades to come mitigate that disaster.
Bianca?
I think that infrastructure is our responsibility, but I think that what we should do is care. After the storms, I lived down the street from the Standard Apartments, and I refused to drive past there one more day until I was able to find a way to help them. And so I spent an entire weekend from dawn to dusk handing out water, helping people carry their belongings out of their homes in trash bags, and trying to provide them dignity. I think that at the end of the day, infrastructure is our responsibility, but we also need to care that these are humans, and there are plenty of people who are still suffering from this. That was not something I wanted to see happen to those individuals, so I brought in city resources, I called in county resources, I asked the Juvenile Welfare Board for help, and I asked the school board for help. And I partnered with the teachers from Eisenhower Elementary, and we made a difference. And if nothing else, we provided people dignity in a very horrible and traumatic situation.
Right. Jared?
Thanks, Al. The question's how to help residents still dealing with hurricane-related issues, essentially. So I think there's a couple of fronts on this, and just quickly, since it was brought up, the 1.75 million grant, 1.8 grant, I was asked by the city to help provide a letter as president of the Clearwater Neighborhoods Coalition that helped win that grant. So thank you very much, and thanks for bringing it up so I could plug that. But I want to say that as chairman of the Environmental Advisory Board for nearly a decade, I advocated for policies and initiatives and projects to make our community more resilient. And these were things that went sort of unheard for a long time until we had these back-to-back storms. So I'm glad we're having these conversations now. It is a lot of investment in our community, and this is not a project that is shiny or on a hill that people like to see and point to, but when it rains and it doesn't flood in your house, that's when we know we've found success. I think that as part of finding help also, we need to make sure that our permitting department is working with homeowners and making sure that people who are affected by the storms are being able to get back on their feet quickly. And I think that's some of the issue as well, is that from a city perspective, we need to make sure our infrastructure is adequate, and we need to make sure our permitting department is adequate to make sure people can get their homes back in order. Thank you.
All right, let's not forget affordable housing, or as they say, workplace housing, affordable housing, whatever phrase you want to use to describe it. Tell me what the city is doing right now to address that issue, or what you will do when you're elected to the city council to make sure that our firefighters and our teachers and our service people that are in this community have places to live. Kevin, we start with you.
About a year ago, I toured the Indigo Apartments just up the street. I believe there are 208 apartments there in that restored building. Your rents are income-based. I did not qualify, but it's a beautiful little place with a workout room, secure parking. We need more than that. We have actually, believe it or not, thousands of affordable apartments as part of the city program that are funded or paid. Your rent is paid based on your income. And there are ones that are 30% of poverty level, 50% of poverty level, 70% of poverty level. So you can help people on all levels. There's different grades. More of that. We definitely have properties that could be restored and rebuilt. And I don't want to say to keep people off the street, because we do more for the homeless than any community in Florida. And the people that do that are quite proud of what they do.
Okay, Sam?
Right, so of course we want to, create the opportunity for our city staff to be able to live in our city and not have to have them outsourced to live at other places. We want them to be able to live here, so obviously workforce housing is important. I was able to, a few weeks back, I was able to tour, Morton Plain Hospital, and I was talking to the president about workforce housing, about a lot of folks that are completing their residencies, and they don't have anywhere to stay, because we don't have the housing, we don't have the capacity to house everybody. And so creating more opportunities like that, not on, on the affordable housing side, we had Clearwater Gardens that recently just opened up. The Indigo is looking great. I'm sure that's going to be done very soon. So, and of course, someone who sits on the Clearwater Housing Authority, I deal with these budgets routinely, and we talk about, keeping these different places updated, clean, because eventually you want the residents to move on from there and be able to live somewhere else that they can afford. So it's about making sure that the residents are safe where they live, making sure that those places are invested in, but it's creating, the space to house all these people and make sure that they can live in the city that they work in.
All right, Bianca?
I think that it's very important that people have access to live in the community that they're serving. So we need to be open to any and all possibilities. It should go beyond apartments. We added AUDs to our city, but the applications have been slow. If that's the case, I think that we should be reevaluating why that is. I had a conversation earlier that the reason that they're slow is because it still doesn't change the financial situation in our country. And if you can't afford to buy a house and finance it, you still might not be able to finance an alternative style home. And I think we need to be looking at that. We have a down payment assistance program, and maybe we need to be expanding that to appeal to the workers in our city, to our law enforcement, to our nurses, to make sure that they are welcome in the community that they gladly serve every day. So I think we need to be open to all options.
Jared?
Thanks, Al. So what is the city doing right now to impact affordable housing or workforce housing in our community? Like it's been mentioned, I went to the Clearwater Gardens opening a few weeks back, or maybe it was, I guess, a couple months ago now, the campaign, but time flies. But these are the projects that we need. The city recently approved a deal to build townhomes on, I think it's like Overbrook and North Betty Lane. We need more of these projects to bring high quality, affordable housing, apartments, different types of housing, so that not just our city workers, first responders have an opportunity if they want to live in the community in which they serve, but also our businesses throughout the community need to ensure that they have employees that can live somewhere close, that they don't have to commute from far away, so that our businesses can have a dependable workforce as well. Okay. So I think the city is partnering with some organizations to increase affordable housing, but we can do more in that respect.
Mark. Affordable housing.
Yeah. It's insanely expensive to live here. I moved here from LA thinking, it's going to be cheaper here in Clearwater. And it was, but now in 6 years, my rent has more than doubled. I don't see how people can exist here at this point. But when I got onto the council, we did, even though COVID hit, we did keep 3 affordable housing projects going. One of them was the Clearwater Gardens apartment complex. These type of projects were being canceled across the country because of the rising costs. But we made sure to keep these on track. 2 of them opened. 1, Scientology sabotaged because they wanted that property. And unfortunately, they chased our developer out of town. But 2 out of 3 is not bad. We need to keep doing that.
Okay. Next question. How do you strike a balance between encouraging development because it expands the tax base and preserving public access and green space? Sam, we'll start with you.
Sure. So ultimately, I know a lot of questions has been brought up about the landings. Of course, I think we'll have to follow the city charter on that. And if the certain land use dictates it goes from recreation to recreation, then don't need a referendum. But of course, we'll have to follow the city attorney's advice on that. And I think, preserving the entire infrastructure of our city, all of our parks, all of our green space is vital. It is important. And so I think, creating opportunities and spaces for families to take their children to is important. It improves the character and the quality of our city. And so I will work towards making sure that our city is more attractive. We are once again mixing that livability with destination, making a family-friendly environment throughout the entire city.
Okay, Bianca.
I referred earlier to the importance of public-private partnership, and this is the situation I'm talking about. I think that we should rely on established businesses in our community who are experts in this area to relieve some of the burden on our budget, but also still have open facilities and parks that we're able to enjoy. Parks is one of our largest budgets in the entire city, and I love them, I want to keep them, but I do think that we need to be creative about finding solutions for maintaining them. And I think that there are experts beyond city government who are in these fields that we should maybe look to for creative ideas to work with what we've got.
Okay, Jared?
Thanks, Al. So yeah, striking a balance of development and preserving our green space. Great question. I serve as president of my neighborhood association, Spring Branch Neighborhood, and one of my proudest accomplishments in that role was working with the city to secure a $1.5 million investment to expand and renovate green space in our neighborhood, and State Street Park, where we were able to increase it to 8 acres of green space in our community. It was land that was already there and available, and It features beautiful meandering trails beneath century oaks. I say this because preserving green space is incredibly important, especially in our densely built-out county. The average city across the country has 14% of green space within its borders, and our city has 10%. So one of the things that makes our community so great is its environment and are the parks. That's the quality of life that we have, and we need to ensure that we maintain that green space.
Okay, Mark?
As far as the landings go, the people in that neighborhood have already told us what they want. They want the green space. We had a referendum because we had to change that property use there from recreational to business. And the people spoke. They said no. They said no to that. We want a quiet neighborhood. We want the green space. So we probably won't go to a referendum for this sporting thing that's being promoted. And I think that's wrong because the people in that neighborhood have already told us what they want.
Okay, Kevin?
On this very subject, the landings is a perfect example, and I see some of my Keen Green friends here. I've spent over 20 hours in the parking lot there on various days, not just talking to golfers. And you might be surprised, the first dozen golfers I talked to, not one of them was from Clearwater. They come from all around to enjoy that space. But I went to their initial presentation at a sweaty gym down off of Missouri. But I've reread the proposition several times, and here's what I found. You can never win an argument when you allow your opponent to frame it. And they say, well, the city owns 3 golf courses, okay? But we can't do it at Chi-Chi's, it's half swampland, and they have that wonderful school. And we can't do it at Clearwater Country Club because it's all hilly and Stevenson Creek goes through there and there's a railroad track. And this one's open and flat, and we could do it here easily. They never answer why they need to do it, they just answer why it has to be there. It doesn't have to be anywhere. It's not needed, and the microplastics are going to go to Alligator Lake, Stevenson Creek, and Allen's Creek. That's our highest point in our city, and it's going to flood everywhere.
Okay. Getting back to hurricanes and stuff, what has the city of Clearwater done to make us better prepared if and when we get hit with another hurricane? And what would you change about that plan? Which indicates that hopefully you all know what that plan is. Bianca, let's start with you.
I want to start by commending our city staff and leadership because while it was very difficult, we didn't face a lot of the battles after the fact that many cities in this area did because they were not at all prepared and they had to end up contracting out to the county to try and provide services. Many people were caught up in the permitting process for a very long time. That being said, while I think we should commend them for how they managed the situation, I think there's always room for self-reflection and to look back and to change those things. I think that community resiliency is an area that Clearwater does try to thrive and put focus on, but there's always an opportunity for reflection, and I think that we need to make sure that permitting is easily accessible. We need to make sure that emergency services are ready and that we're prepared when something comes soon.
Okay, Jared?
Thanks, Al. So like I've said before, I have served as the chairman of our city's environmental advisory board for nearly a decade. And during that time, one of the most important documents that came up before us was the community, the vulnerability assessment. And in the city's vulnerability assessment, this showed where our community lacked resiliency, where we need to improve our infrastructure, how our city would deal with hurricanes. And it came true, back-to-back hurricanes, and a lot of what our projections were in that assessment were accurate. The follow-up for that plan is an adaptation, for that study, an assessment is an adaptation plan. And so what we need is to see that plan, and we need to take action on the results of that plan. The community adaptation plan will include opportunities to make our community more resilient and find those infrastructure weaknesses.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Mark?
That sounds good for now. When I was on the council, We did a long-term project. We set in motion building a new water processing plant, plant, away from the flood zone, because we've got two of them in the flood zone. One would be completely underwater if we have a major storm or hurricane. And then the one closer to us here right now, that would be halfway underwater. So we invested in replacing all three of our water treatment plants with a new one that will be saving the entire city, keeping it functioning when a major storm hits.
Okay, Kevin?
The Warren plant is the one up Stevenson Creek, and that was a tentative question for the Clearwater neighborhood debate, but it never came up. And what would you do about it? And I said build a time thing and not build a recycling plant on a fragile piece of water. The east one you're talking about is the one over there on 60, and there is a long-range plan that you may be speaking of to slowly divert all of that to the northeast one, which is in the northeast edge of the county, thus named. But being on the Marine Advisory Board, we've seen through this. I'm told, I haven't been down there today, that there's a new crane down in the parking lot where we're finally putting the wave attenuators in. We're still fixing things from the hurricanes. The damage at Seminole, it's been very tough to get repaired because that was built before there were really permits for it, and we have to almost start from scratch to fix it. So I can speak well to the marine things, and I can speak about other people trying to get their homes built. It's been a tough road.
Okay. Sam?
Well, for my professional job, as someone who is on the ground on our entire barrier islands right after the storms, I can tell you that Clearwater was the best in terms of recovery. Those barrier islands were completely knocked around, and FEMA was not very helpful in terms of getting the recovery with the permitting. A lot of the cities had a lot of permitting issues. Clearwater was actually the very best that I've seen in this county when it comes to hurricane recovery. We just need to focus more on our North Beach, improving our dunes on the North Beach. I thank the Lord that beach renourishment has finally been solved in Pinellas County after 40 years. We are able to have the Army Corps come in and completely revitalize our entire beaches and make sure it's storm hardened, so that way when the storms come, we don't see the flooding that we will see, that we've seen typically on North Beach. And it was so bad in some of our other barrier islands. And I think the leadership that we saw from our city staff for here in Clearwater was beyond exceptional. So.
Okay, great. Another change. The county owns approximately 24 acres of land in the city of Clearwater, 17 parcels to be exact. What do you think should happen to those properties as the county searches for possible development project for these 17 parcels of land? We start out with Jared on that one.
Oh, thanks, Al. Appreciate that.
I always give you the tough. You get the tough ones all the time.
Take it from the top, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, before permanently selling any public property, I believe that we should fully explore whether a lease structure can achieve the same economic and community benefits while preserving the flexibility for future generations. Once public land is sold, it's gone, but we should be thoughtful stewards of our assets that belong to the city. The current Ballad Hotel and Bluff Apartment Complex are a couple examples of long-term lease developments, but ultimately what we need to do is look for individually what the best project's going to be for each one of these parcels and go with that. So thank you.
Okay, Mark, same thing?
So when I was on the council, we talked about the fact that these county properties are going to be opening up, and it was essential for us as a city to be able to decide what's going to happen with them in the future. We had started successfully redeveloping despite Scientology by creating the park and the amphitheater, which turned it into a destination. 400 apartments are going up, the boutique hotel. So we got a good start, but we knew we needed that footprint of all those county properties. So I would hope that the county would lease those properties instead of selling them to the highest bidder, because we know the highest bidder is going to be Scientology. And it's important to make sure that we have some stake in this downtown and we have a footprint that we control.
Okay, Kevin?
I've been criticized for my opinion on this because I don't know that anyone's gone back and looked how the county ever purchased those and what the agreement was when they purchased, because what Mark just said, hope. I don't want to hope. I want the city not sitting in the audience when the county sits there and presents this to them, as they did, and the first thing they said was, we are going to look to maximize our profit for this so Pinellas taxpayers aren't suffered with the bill to move our base. Okay? 7 members of that commission, 2 of them maybe are Clearwater residents. We're letting someone from Gulfport, St. Petersburg, and Tarpon Springs decide the future of our downtown. And we should be the ones sitting at the table, and they should be in the audience. I've been told I was ignorant for stating that, and I am not ignorant. We either take control of that or we lose.
Sam?
Well, currently, the county is in negotiations right now with developers, and they're talking about future business plans and future properties that they want to assume. And ultimately, I trust our county commissioners with coming up with the right possible way, whether that's through lease or through sale, whatever it may be. You leave that into the hands of the developers who are going to be activating those properties. And it doesn't matter to me personally. I want those properties activated to create life in our downtown. That expands our footprint of activation. That's what I'm focused on, and that's what I would hope that the county commissioners would work to do that with the developers.
Okay, Bianca?
This is the largest development that will have happened in the city of Clearwater, and it will literally be life-changing for our economy, for our future, for how long our city will be able to thrive. And we have to take this very seriously. I've been actively working on it, and I'd like to pose a thought to you, which is that many people have expressed their that they were upset. Let's be real. They were upset with what the city did last week. And what they did was limit the possibilities of the county project before it had even started. They also limited the possibilities of the city's projects before they'd even started because they also opened proposals last week. So I pose to you the thought that maybe it's important to have a group of individuals who don't have the same tensions and difficulties take over this project and trust that they have the best intentions.
Okay. One last question, and then we're going to go to our closing statements. All right, imagine this. You have a magic wand, like we all have. If there was one thing you could change about the city of Clearwater, the way the government works, and you had a magic wand, what would it be? Anything, money, doesn't matter, move us into a desert, whatever. Dream. What's the one thing that you would change that could make life for all of us here better? I'm going to start right down the line. Bianca?
Well, if it's a dream, a lot of money that we don't have to produce ourselves. But I think the thing that is a dream for many people but is on its way to becoming a reality is the environment that's surrounding us where we're sitting right now to be thriving. And I think there's so many possibilities, and I'm very excited about it, and I don't think it has to be a dream for long. I think it's a dream that will become a reality, and I'm very much looking forward to that.
All right. Jared?
So my dream for Clearwater, we all are able to work together and achieve our shared vision for what we all want. And what we all want is what's best for Clearwater, and a vibrant downtown, a community with housing that people can afford, bills that people can pay, and again, a vibrant community that is welcoming for everyone.
Mark?
Well, with the magic wand, I would move Scientology to Largo.
Woody Brown doesn't appreciate that.
I live in Largo. Okay, come on. That's not okay. Whatever. Kevin?
Oh, you're done? Oh.
Yeah.
Has anyone read Beach by Design? It's getting a little outdated. Some of you have. And in there, they basically punt when it comes to traffic and parking at the beach. If you want to build a parking garage on the beach, you must first prove that it can pay for itself year-round, which most of them can't. So when season comes, we face the impossibility of visiting our own beach. And read that. They want to add rooms as a solution instead of fixing the traffic, instead of fixing the parking, so that we can all enjoy our beach. And I mean, when they basically start out saying, face the facts that we'll never be able to handle all the cars and people that want to go to Clearwater Beach, so give us 600 more luxury hotel rooms, and that'll solve the problem. We'll bring them in on air taxis, and look that up. That is a thing. Our air taxis are coming. I don't want to say it's a bad thing, but it's not a solution for you and me to get out to the beach.
I want the gondola to the beach. Remember that idea?
Yes.
I
All
want
for it.
I'll pay
We
for
could
that.
start it right at one of those county buildings.
There we go. Sam?
I would say a united city, a city that we can all work together towards an amazing future for Clearwater, and we can all, no matter what our differences, no matter who we are, where we come from, we can all just work together to move Clearwater forward into the future to make it the best possible city it can be for generations to come. That's what I want.
All right. Let me just put a, now before we started the program, we actually kind of drew numbers to see who would go in the closing statements. So it would be fair for everybody. Who knows whether it's best to be first or last? If you're last, it was better to be first. If you're first, it was better to be last. That's the way that works. So, Jared, you get to be first.
Again? All right.
I know it.
Look,
You really got
let me look surprised.
3 out of 4 of the toughies right away.
And
Go
this
ahead.
is the
You got-
toughest here.
Yeah, okay, you got a minute.
I appreciate it. Thanks again, Al. Thanks, Allie and your staff for putting this forum together. And I hope everyone here tonight, thank you all for coming out, and I hope you all learned a little bit more about me and my vision for the future of Clearwater. I've said this before, but since starting this campaign, I've heard the same thing from residents and business owners throughout our community. They want a government that's accessible, transparent, and listens to them. I led a city board for nearly a decade where I listened to residents, where I advocated for policies, initiatives, and projects that have saved taxpayers millions of dollars. I'll be ready to get to work on day one and work for you. I'm proudly endorsed by the National Organization for Women and the Sierra Club. For a brighter day in Clearwater, vote Jared Leone on August 18th. Thank you.
All right, Mark.
These races are nonpartisan, and I have been very proud to have Republicans, Democrats, Independents supporting me. These are not partisan issues we're dealing with. However, Scientology is very partisan. Mike Rinder hired Mary Repper, this Washington lobbyist, to make it easy for politicians to come to the Fort Harrison Hotel and give speeches, raise money, get that solid voting block. And they have successfully done that. They have almost controlled the council after decades of Scientology being here. And I'm concerned that with their candidate this year, they're going to lock that in forever. So go to markbunker.com, check me out, hit that donate button if you could.
Okay. All right, good. Sam, you're next.
Oh,
Nope.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, this was the order that they were drawn in, yeah.
Well, the best days of Clearwater are still ahead of us. I firmly believe that we are going to be a united city moving forward, and I'm running ultimately to bring the leadership of the next generation, that's the future homeowners and future, raising families here in Clearwater. And I'm proud of the support that I have. The support that I have is unmatched. I have support from the fire union, both police unions, the sheriff, 6 of the 7 county commissioners, most of our Pinellas legislative delegation, Congresswoman Luna, Congressman Bill Arakis, State Senator DeSigley, State Rep Burfield, State Rep Jocks, list goes on. But it's the coalition of folks that are supporting me because they know I'm the right man for the job. I will fight for this city. I'm going to fight for the residents every single day, and we're going to have a unified coalition of people in this region to move Clearwater into the future, and I just cannot wait for it, and I would really hope all of you would support me in that. Thank you.
You're so young. I like that. Give it this way. Okay, Bianca.
I'd like to encourage you to look at this dais tonight. This is a reflection of the current makeup of our city council. 4 men and 1 woman. And without me, there will no longer be a woman's voice on the council. And I think that it's very important that we have that balance. I am a very balanced individual. My personality does not get flustered easily. And I often am the person who is finding the path forward. And that is so important. I have a lot of the same endorsements as Sam and support of the council. The most important to me is the support of Councilwoman Teixeira. She firmly believes that she needs to leave a woman in her wake. I did lose an endorsement this week, and I bring that up because I think it's important for you to know that I am not afraid. I am not afraid to be the voice that says the right thing, and I was bullied to meet the opinions of the same council member, and I'm not willing to do that. So I'm willing to publicly admit to you that I did lose support, but that's because I want to do what is right.
Okay, Kevin, you get the last one.
I won.
Yes.
I've been criticized and complimented because I always try to inject a little humor into even the most serious subjects. Thank you, Sam, for telling us every Republican representative in this nonpartisan race that is supporting you. I didn't hear one Democrat. I didn't hear the Sierra Club, as Jared and I are endorsed. I'm hoping on that Florida Now soon. I got into this late. I got into it a lot because I was hearing nothing but platitudes. And Sam, your new flyer, well, not yours, the Republican Party put out a flyer for Sam today saying he's the common sense candidate. I've heard transparency. I've heard limited government. I've heard affordability. I've heard out in the sunshine, fiscally responsible. Not one of those is an issue facing Clearwater. The issues are the landings. The issues are the buildings over there. The issues are the traffic. And those are the things that I talk about. I don't throw platitudes around. I want to talk about the issues. Kevin R.T. Laughlin, thank you, Al. Even I do it now and then.
Right.
Kevin for clearwatercouncil.com.
Okay, we gave you 16 extra seconds for that,
Thank
Kevin.
you.
You're good. Now, just
One
again
last.
for the audience, these two are running against each other, and these three are running against each other. So let's all put your heads down and then raise your hand as I say each candidate's name. No. That. Would
And then
like
we'll
to,
be
though,
done.
wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be fun? Hey, thank you so much, candidates, and thank you, audience. Let's give them a round of applause, would you? Now, just a reminder, the election is coming up on August 18th. If you want a mail-in ballot, you need to specifically request it from the election supervisor's office no later than August the 6th. Early voting runs from August the 8th through the 16th. Feel free to stick around and talk with the candidates. Otherwise, everybody, have a good evening. And thank you,
Thank you.
audience.